So without further ado, man, it's your boy E Double.
What's up, good people? Cedric Lavelle. And like he said, this is episode 50. We've been going at this thing for quite some time now. And just the opportunity to share this content is always, it's always special.
Terrell racing this thing.
We definitely value the time that we take in creating a lot of this content, but also just being able to share that with anybody who's willing to listen. You know what I'm saying? Just going off our experiences, things that we've encountered over time, whether it's in our personal life, professional life, physical life, things of that extent. We've learned a lot, we've experienced a lot, we've grown a lot, and we're still learning more. You know what I'm saying? And just the fact that people have been on this journey with us since episode 1 to episode 50, and seeing the progress that we've made over time. It's a rewarding feeling that we certainly don't take for granted. So we just want to just appreciate everybody that tunes in, that goes back and looks at the lives, that's giving some valuable feedback. Know that we hear it, we listen to it, and a lot of the things that you all say, we are implementing that within the brand that we're establishing and we're creating. So appreciate that. And yeah, bro, let's get to it.
So let's get right into it, man. So barriers to entry, right? Why getting past your own limits can be complicated. Why can that be complicated, Sid?
Man, so it's challenging, right, bro? You know, when you just think about just the human mind, you know, there's a lot of things that we process in our heads that in some cases aren't true, right? There are certain things that we may tell ourselves as it relates to what we believe we're capable of, and it may not be a fact. It may be just your environment. It may be just the words of somebody else that cause you to think this. It may be someone else's failures that may cause you to think this. But basically, there's a barrier to entry. There's a barrier that you put up with your lack of belief that doesn't allow the fruitful things and the positive things that could come to you to get to you, because you know you reject the idea that you are capable, or that you are worthy, or that you can have the success and you can live out your dreams, or whatever the case may be, right? And so you hear it a lot of times where people may talk about certain things that are going on in their environment, or certain things that they may experience in life, and it may come off as an excuse. And some reasons are very valid. You know, there are a lot of things that can hinder you, or that can be a burden, or be an obstacle. But a lot of times, man, just those things are there for you to, you know, create strategies. I say this all the time. A lot of the experience that you have as you go through life, they build character, they build endurance, they create a strategy that you're able to utilize, and not only be able to use it for yourself, but also be able to share it with other people as well too, which is a beneficial thing, right? It allows you to have that value and create that value from your experience, and then from there you're able to go forward and share that and grow with it and gain a lot insight. You know what I'm saying? So basically, when it comes to your limits and the complications of them, it's really from your own account, right? It's you allowing yourself to be defeated by certain things that may go on around you, certain things that may be going on in your life, and it allows you, well, not allows you, but it hinders you from making the progress and fulfilling the dreams and the aspirations that you have for yourself, right?
And those things can be both conscious and subconscious, right? Like you may have seen, you know, like women may have seen their mother's grandmother, great grandmother only, you know, be like a stay-at-home mom or something like that, right? And not be like independent or you know, go work or something like that. And subconsciously, you know, they may take on that same thought, like, you know, well, I'll just be a stay-at-home mom. Like I can't do that. Like, you know, like, you know, may not think that they're capable. You know, whatever. Any sort of example, right? And then there could be conscious ones where you're like, man, I just don't got time. Like I'm just crazy busy. You know what I mean? Because of X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? Like, but it could be, you know, both conscious and subconscious.
Absolutely.
things that are stopping you, you know, that are limiting you.
That is a fact, my brother. So three things that you want to know as it relates to limitations. One, limits keep you from trying, right? And so whenever you have these limits that you put on yourself, they become really excuses. It provides you, not even really provides you, but it just gives you an outlet. You know, it gives you a scapegoat. You know, it just basically puts you in this box, and you just use every reason of why you can't get out of the box, why you can't get out of this situation without even trying, without even making an attempt. You know, it's like you have this thing that you're trying to get past, and someone may ask you, well, have you ever tried this? Or have you considered this? Or do you try this? You know, it's like you haven't exhausted every avenue in order to get out of the situation. Until you do that, you know, it's like there's still an opportunity, there's still a chance, but you have to be willing to try in order to get to the other side of that, right?
Yeah, hey, and to piggyback on that, right? Like, to go back to the point that I made about, like, you know, a conscious thing, like I don't have enough time, and like using that as an excuse. And a lot of people will like justify that excuse, right? To not do something, not go to the gym, not work out, you know, whatever the case may be. And the reality is this: successful, driven, dedicated individuals find a way, right? Like, there's like no excuse is a good excuse. So instead of like finding an excuse or a way out, right, you got to like find a way to make it happen,
Right.
right? So
Find a
like,
solution.
yeah, so no, there's no such thing as limits, right? Quote unquote. Like, uh, you know, obviously when we're setting goals and we're working towards things, like we talked about, like realistic goals, right? Like,
Right.
you can't just say I'm gonna make $1 billion this year and not have a plan, right? Like, that's unrealistic. But like, you know, when you have like realistic goals and you really you know, put plan to action, and you know, are dedicated and consistent, you know, you can achieve whatever.
Absolutely. That's a fact. So the second one, limits keep you from potential, right? And so you'll never know what your potential can be if you continue to be burdened by limits, right? You basically give yourself a cutoff. You know, it's like this is the ceiling that you set for yourself when you actually have the potential to go past that ceiling, or where you actually have the potential to, you know, surpass what other people may have done before you. Or if you may look at somebody and look at their success, and you just base their success on, you know, just benchmarks that really may not even be the foundation that you need to be building yourself on, because you probably meant to go past that person, right? And so a lot of times with limits, and putting limits on yourself and allowing others to put limits on you as well, you know, you don't have the opportunity to reach your fullest potential. And potential is always something that progresses. It never stops. Like I feel like you never reach your fullest potential, because there's always a level of growth that you can experience that allow you to go a step further. If you're continuously learning, if you're continuously growing, you're always looking to better yourself and improve yourself, and reach a potential that you aspire to. But in many instances, when people have these limits upon themselves, they don't even reach the foundational part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I think one of the biggest like limiting, I guess, acts for like, especially like, you know, black folks is over celebrating um accomplishments like high school, right? like
Yeah,
like
we talked about that.
right, like in our communities, right, like graduating from high school is like this big thing, right? Like, oh, like you made it, you graduated, where in reality it's like that should be like a minimum, you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be um celebrated in like this such, we don't, let me not say that this shouldn't be celebrated, because it's an accomplishment, like, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be like I made it, like I'm striving to do this, right? Like,
Right,
that's just a stepping stone to move to something else. And
right.
like, a lot of folks, you know what I mean, they graduate from high school and that's it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no higher education, which, and I'm not saying you need to go to college. That's not the only form of education. And if you've watched our lives in the past, you know that we definitely don't say don't go to college, but we also don't say that it's mandatory. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
There's always other opportunities.
continued education is mandatory, and continue to
Right.
educate yourself. But yeah, I think that's one of the like biggest like limiting beliefs, and I think that's like one of those things where um you don't even necessarily put it on yourself, but other people put it on you, and then you just believe it, and then you may pass it on and pass it down, right? Like,
Right.
and now your kids may think like, oh, okay, I just got to graduate from high school, you know what I mean? Like, and then I'm on my own, I'm grown, like I can do X, Y, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
and
It's
it does,
the
it stops
expectations are
us,
different.
and it stops us, it stops them from reaching their full potential because you so much more than that. Like,
Right.
like, okay, cool, you gonna graduate, but then what? You know what I
What's the
mean?
next
You
move?
gonna get your bachelor's or your master's, or you gonna start a business, or you going, what's the next step?
And truthfully, I feel like in those cases, there's not a lot of involvement in the process leading up to graduation because and it may be because of that reason. It's like, oh yeah, you graduate in high school, and okay, now what's next? What's the next thing that you're looking to accomplish? What's the next opportunity or goal that you're looking to seize? And that's to start, sophomore, junior year, like
Yeah,
early senior year. That should be a progressive stage to a senior knowing, hey, I'm graduating. I feel accomplished. This is a great honor. I want to celebrate this moment, but this is really the start of something new. This
yeah,
is my life transitioning, and I'm moving forward into something else. The vision is bigger. You know what I'm saying? This is only a small piece of the puzzle, but there's so much more that I know that I can accomplish, and I'm ready to do that. This is just the foundation for me, right? And so, the expectation just has to be different, right? The involvement just has to be different as well, too. I tell my daughter all the time, and she's a freshman in high school now, but we always talk about college and the future and what her vision is and what she wants to do as she grows up and develops and understands more. But those conversations need to be had, whether it's with a parent, whether it's with a guidance counselor, whether it's through research, whatever the case may be. But there's always opportunities that are there outside of just graduating high school, right?
yeah, yeah.
Then the
Don't
last
limit
one,
your potential.
yeah, don't limit your potential, absolutely. Then the last one, limits keep you from developing, right? And that really just kind of goes into what we just talked about just now, right? There's so much more that you can develop into, so much more that you're potentially capable of, so many different things that you may have as gifts, right? And I feel like a lot of times too, because people may have some sort of fear or they may not be the most confident or maybe have the belief in themselves or the commitment to try something new, that limits their developing, that limits them learning something, a different craft or a different skill set. You know what I'm saying? Now, everybody not going to know everything, but if you put yourself in a position to learn or to soak up game from somebody and have a conversation with somebody like, oh man, I never knew this was an opportunity that was there for me. Let me look into it, right? Or I never knew that I could potentially do X, Y, and Z by having this degree or by having this skill set, and there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors that can open up for you. But if you have limited beliefs about yourself and what you're capable of, that development phase you can never experience because you cut yourself short based off of the barriers that you put on yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like people say like, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this. Like people say, like they don't know the right questions to ask, right? Or like if they're in certain situations and they don't understand something, like they don't know how to articulate it. They don't know how to like talk their way through it, right? Whereas when you're continuing to educate yourself, continuing to have new experiences, continuing to grow, right? You put yourself in new positions, which will create a better understanding of certain things,
Right.
which will prepare you to be able to ask the right questions, right?
Yeah.
To be
Yeah. Yeah.
able to learn more about, you know, various things that you didn't know about before, right? Because it's impossible to know about something. Like, I'm trying to think of an example, and this is a dumb one, but if you didn't know vanilla ice cream existed, you wouldn't be checking for it, right? Like, you wouldn't go to the grocery store and be looking for it. Like, you wouldn't crave it. You wouldn't, you know, think about it because you don't know it exists,
Don't
right?
exist.
But when you know something exists, right? Like, you're more inclined to, you know, okay, if it's of interest to you, you're more inclined to, you know, go seek it out and do more research, right?
I mean,
So,
that's like with real estate.
well, wait, exactly, with
You know what
real
I'm saying?
estate or investing or whatever, right? Like, a lot of people, like, they know the term investing, they know like the general, you know, idea of what it is, like using your money to make money, but they don't understand the intricacies or the various different types of investments or how
Right.
to get started or whatever, right? But now if they get out there and they expose themselves to it, you know, put in a little effort, you know, educate themselves, then they'll start to learn some of those things, and then they'll know
Right.
the right questions and
Right
where to
question to
look
ask.
and where to, you know, to become more savvy. You know, it just requires some effort. And then, yeah, so, you know, not limiting yourself, you know, reaching your full potential, and then, you know, developing that potential really from
Absolutely.
the three things you mentioned.
All
So cool.
facts.
You good? Okay,
I'm
so
good, bro. You got it?
so the next section here is modified behaviors, right?
Nah, man, we on viewing restraint. You didn't went to all
I
to
didn't
end.
I went too far.
You
It's
didn't skip the whole
viewing
slide.
restraints, right? We're on viewing restraints. So basically, I'm gonna list like seven limiting thoughts, right? And how they, you know, can affect you, and um, you know, and why you shouldn't have these thoughts, or like ways to like help with these limiting thoughts, right? So the first one is, I'm not good enough. So there are people who have, you know, low self-esteem, right? And I think even some confident people sometimes go through spouts where they may not feel like they're good enough. They may not feel like they're good enough for their spouse. They may not feel like they're good enough for their family. They may not feel like they're, you know, a good enough father or a good enough mother, or, you know, whatever the case may be, right? And obviously that limits you, right? Because, and we can tap into to last week's episode where we talk about leading with gratitude, right? And or living with, I think it was leading with
Yeah,
gratitude.
with gratitude. Yeah.
Um, and basically having a more optimistic view as opposed to a pessimistic view, right? And like having the feeling that you're not good enough is more pessimistic, right? That's more negative. That's naturally gonna cause you to not be living to your full potential. You know what I mean? Because you're
Right.
just not in a positive mindset. You know what I mean? Like saying something like that to yourself, like you're gonna believe it, and then it's gonna seep into your subconscious, which is gonna stop you from doing things. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
when certain opportunities present themselves, you're not gonna do it because you're gonna have that thought, like, I'm not good enough. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not gonna get anything out of it. You know, so that's terrible. Now, what can you do to improve on not feeling good enough? Right. First and foremost, you want to make sure you surround yourself with positive people. You want to make sure that you have a good support system, right? And that's obviously easier said than done because some people don't. But we all can find a support system. And to be honest with you, for some people, that support may come from strangers. You know,
Yeah.
you may meet, you know, like you know, if you're in school, in college, or something, like a guidance counselor. You may, you know, speak to a counselor or a therapist or whatever the case may be, right? But there's people out there that you can reach out to if you don't have like your immediate family or friends that you
A
can
circle. Yeah.
link on, right? But that's how you can kind of get over that. Surrounding yourself with positive people who, you know, tell you the positive things about you, you know, who big you up, who pour into you, right, and allow you to get into better spirits. And then you need to, you know, pull yourself up because that's extremely important, and you know, pour into yourself. The next one on the list is I don't have enough time, and we briefly touched on this at the beginning. And this can be a valid um, thought or belief, right? There's 24 hours in a day. Now, the way you look at it, though, is perspective is everything, right?
Oh yeah.
It's all about managing your time, right? Like you got to manage your time. If you just think I don't have enough time, or if you say I don't have enough time, and then I ask you a question like, okay, well, do you have a planner? Like, do you use a calendar? Like, do you have a schedule? Like, what are you doing next Wednesday at 5 o'clock? You know what I mean? Like, if I
Right.
ask you something like that and you can't answer, then that means you're not
It's like, this is why you ain't
properly
got enough time.
and efficiently using your time. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, and that obviously is just going to limit you because you're not maximizing your hours in a day,
Yeah.
and you're wasting them, right? Which is going to stop you from being productive, because less hours, less time to do anything is less time to spend doing that thing, which is going to uh,
Right.
stop you from achieving whatever the end result is for the time you're putting into that thing, right? So if you're starting a business and you have less hours in the week to do it, it's going to slow you down, which is going to limit you, right?
Yeah.
And now again, how can you improve on that? Using a calendar, planning your days, planning your evenings, just being more thoughtful and more strategic, with how you manage your time, and not just, letting the hours float by, sitting around watching TV, playing video games at the club every night, right? So that's how you can improve on your time. Next one is I'm not smart enough. And I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. When I first started applying to software development jobs, I felt like that. I felt like I'm not smart enough. I'm like, these dudes are like crazy smart, like these nerds, um, like how am I gonna do this? I remember when I got my first software development job, or for my first interview, I had just had another interview, which wasn't for a software development job, but it was still like a tech role. And I knew I had that job. They made the offer, and I called my wife, and I'm like, I got this software development role, but like I just, you went on YouTube and watched some of these interviews, and like, what I mean, they writing this code, doing chalkboard thing, what I mean, sessions and all this, and I don't think I'm ready. And wifey, just told me like, hey, you should still go. Worst thing
Right.
can happen is you don't get it, but it's a learning experience, and you'll learn for the next one. So I actually ended up going, aced it. Interview went good, got my first software development job, and it opened my eyes up. You know what I mean? Like, you are smart enough. You know what I mean? Like you are good enough.
You are worthy.
And some people just need those type of experiences, right? Now everybody might not have that experience, but if it's wherever you feel, whatever area you feel you aren't smart enough in, just spend a little bit more time learning about that area, right?
Right.
Like, what's an example? Say you want to be an accountant, right? And you aren't familiar with, I don't know what some accounting software that people use.
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks or whatever, right? And you know this company uses QuickBooks, but you don't really have experience. So cool, go watch some YouTube videos, see if there's a QuickBooks trial or some sort of development environment where you can play around, use the application, get familiar with it, see if there's some little quizzes you could take, create some little flashcards, whatever you can to build your confidence,
Right.
right? Um, and let you know that you are smart enough. I'm a firm believer that you can learn whatever you seek, whatever you can learn, whatever whatever you want to learn by just going and doing the research
Doing the
and
research,
educating yourself.
find the stuff to educate
Now
yourself.
how long that'll take will depend on the complexity of whatever it is you're trying to learn. But and I think I said this on the live last week, that like my perspective on learning has kind of changed, right? And like a lot of people, I feel like when they go to learn something, they go in wanting to be an expert, like thinking they need to know everything. When the reality is you don't need to know everything. There's things you've been doing your whole life that you're not an expert at, but you know how to do it. You're
Yeah.
good at it, right? So when you're learning something and you come across, something that doesn't make sense to you, just keep going. And later on, that'll probably make sense to you as, something, as you learn something else that'll be able to make that a little more clear for you. So yeah, so next up is I don't have enough money. And I'm gonna run through these last ones kind of quick. Fair, right? money rules the world. You know what I mean? You definitely need money to do certain things,
Gotta
but
have
there's
that.
ways to make money, and then there's ways to accomplish things without money, right? So I'll just use real estate as an example. It's a misconception that you need a lot of money to get into real estate, or that you need great credit to get into real estate. There's something called wholesaling, where you don't use any of your money, right? You find the properties. I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty of it, but basically you do some leg work that costs you nothing but some time. You sell the contracts to real estate investors, and you make a nice profit from it. And you didn't put up any of your own money. And there's other various things and businesses and situations like that where you don't have to have a lot of money, right? You can find an investor as long as you have a sound business plan that's willing to invest in you. Because any investor, if it's a good plan, they want to make more money. So they will invest the money when it's a good business plan and they know they're going to get their money back. So you don't have to have a lot of money to do various things. There's ways around it. Next is I don't have enough support. And this is a huge one because a lot of people, and we talked about this recently, said where most people, when they go to start a business, the first thing they think about, if they're popular or got a big family, is, oh, my family going to support me. My friends going to support me. And then if they don't get that support, it's like disheartening. Like, damn, like, they don't even rock. And then you start looking at people funny. You're looking at your family different on Thanksgiving now because they ain't buy you a little shirt or whatever. Yeah, you know what I mean? So you know, the reality is this, right? One, don't let your business affect your personal relationships like that, right? Because the reality is this. First and foremost, those immediately around you aren't going to be the ones that keep your business afloat, right? Like they're not going to be the ones to grow your business, right?
You shouldn't want
be
to.
way more people than in your family or your immediate circle. And then two, strangers are typically your biggest supporters, right? Like because they're coming in with the unbiased lens, and whatever it is that you're wanting support on, they're looking at that body of work or that situation, and they're judging it just for what it is and what they see, right? So, and if they like it, that's a genuine interest. It's not because they're your family member. It's not because they're your friend and supporting you just off that strength. And that's the type of support you really want. You want that genuine, authentic support, and not just because it's your friend or just because it's your family, or whatever the case may be. And then ways to get support. One is surround yourself around like-minded individuals that are trying to do similar things that you are, and then you can learn from them. Try to find some people who may be a little further along than you are in whatever it is you're doing, or want support in. And if it's not like business related, if it's more like a mental health type issue related, like feeling like you don't have support, nobody you can count on, nobody you can lean on, and you're like sad, or fall into like that I'm not good enough type situation, then again I would recommend consulting with like a counselor or a therapist, or a professional who can help you and give you more professional ways and advice on coping and dealing with feeling like you have a lack of support. Next on the list is I can do it myself. I don't need help. And this is what interesting when I was doing my research, right? Because it's like I can do it myself. How is that a limiting belief? Or and another way of saying is I don't need help. Well, the way it's a limiting belief is, or a limiting thought is, we all need help at one point or another. Nobody walking this earth has done it themselves. You know what I mean? At one point or another, we need help. And now, say it's a situation where you can do it yourself. Say you have all the knowledge to create these hats, right? And you need to make 1 million of them. How long do you think it's going to take you to make 1 million versus working, sourcing out with a factory where they can make 10,000 hats an hour? You know what I mean? Or some crap. You know what I mean? It's going to speed up the time and the productivity and let you do other things. Now, that's if you know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, then whatever you're trying to do isn't going to get done. And obviously that's super limiting you, because now you can't move forward. You know what I mean? So it's very important to realize that, one, we don't know everything, and two, we definitely need help. Everybody needs help. in one area or another. And
Yeah.
it's not because you're not capable. It's because we only got so many hours in a day. We can only do so much. We only, you know, you got to be smart and delegate. If somebody can do something faster than you for a cost that's less than what you charge for that same time, let them do it, because you can
Smart
use
move.
your time somewhere else and
Yeah.
make more money. And then last but not least is a fear of what people think.
That's a big one too.
Yeah, no, this is huge. And this is probably the biggest one that most people relate to, because I think everybody deals with this at one point or another. Everybody says they don't care what people think. That's like the go-to, right? Like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm this, I'm that, I'm badass. Every single one of us cares what people think. It's a human emotion. We all want to feel welcomed. We want to feel loved. We want to feel appreciated. Nobody wants to be hated. Nobody wants to be not needed. You know, like, it's just human things, right? Now, some people are more overboard than others. Some people just need the attention. They can't live without it. Others, they're cool. They appreciate it. They would like it, but they don't go seeking it. You know what I mean? But now, fear of what people think. The reason this can be a limiting thought is you may not act because you're scared of what people are going to say. So you might not release said product. You might not post the post, or you may not speak up at the work meeting or important function, because you're afraid of what other people are going to think. And you may actually have the best idea. You may have the solution to the problem. You may be the shining star that nobody knows about because you're too afraid of what everybody else thinks, right? And obviously we see why this can limit you, right? For all the reasons that I just mentioned. And what is a way to get over that, right? I think the best way to get over something like that is, because it's easier said than done to just say don't care what people think. Like, and I understand how complicated that can be for people who do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not going to say just don't care what people think, but just try to do things to build up your confidence, right? Like,
That's
like
the key word right there, confidence.
Yeah. Now, if you have a good idea, right, speak with your spouse about it. You know what I mean? Like, say you got a good idea at work, but you're too afraid to say something, right? Speak to your wife about it, right? Or your husband, your significant other, whatever, and kind of run it through them. Because obviously, if you're married to them, hopefully it's y'all in a good situation. You respect their opinion. Y'all can, you know, connect and work together, and you know, run it through them. Get their feedback. See how they feel about it. You know, kind of run through a dry run, if you will, like practice, right? And then once you kind of get comfortable talking about it, then, you know, maybe bring it up to your manager, or, you know, said person who needs to hear it, you know, who may be seeking or could benefit from the information. And then just start slow. Do small things to build your confidence. And then once you're confidence is everything. Once your confidence is there, it becomes easier not to care, right? Because you know what you're capable of. You know what you're talking about. You know that what you're saying is right. So you're not worried about what somebody
else may think.
Right. And yeah, that's a way, you know, you can kind of build that up. So what's the impact? What you think about yourself reflects the ideas and opinions you allow to consume you. Learn to believe the best about you, about who you are, and your capabilities to avoid the restraints of limiting views. Period, point blank, right? I got this thing that I say to Sid, and I say to my wife, started to say it to other people, is that there's two thoughts, right? There's the thought that you feel about yourself, or the way you feel about yourself, and then there's everybody else's thoughts, right? And I don't care who that everybody else is. I don't care if that everybody else is your mom, your dad, your wife, your grandma, your kids, whatever. The most important one is how you feel about yourself. That is the most important one, right?
Self-belief.
And you have to, because if you think, you know, poorly about yourself, you're gonna have poor performance. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be your energy's gonna be off. You're not gonna be a joy to be around. You know what I mean? And then you're worrying too much about what the other thoughts are, right? And you can't do that. You cannot care more about what other people think versus what you think.
What you think?
You
Yeah.
have, how you feel about yourself has to be the most important. Like when it comes to being a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a sister, a brother, whatever, right? In order to be the best, that you have to be the best version of you. And in order to be the best version of you, you have to think highly of yourself. You have to be confident. You got to move with purpose. You know, you got to, you have to. It's extremely important. So
100%.
make sure that you don't limit yourself. Just period, point blank. You know what I mean? Make sure you don't carry those thoughts, and that you pour back into yourself, and believe yourself, so you can live out and to your fullest potential. So moving on to the next section, modified behaviors, right? So 4 steps to becoming your best version. Go ahead, take the first 2, Seb, and I'll take the last 2, and you close out.
Absolutely. And I think this one goes hand in hand with what you just finished saying about becoming the best version of yourself. And in order to do that, there has to be changes in different sets of behaviors that you create in order for you to be put in a better position to propel and to move forward and to be more confident and be more of that individual who feels proud about who they are and the steps that they've taken in order to get past those limiting beliefs. So one of the things that you want to do to become a better version of yourself, you want to commit to something that's worth giving up everything for, right? And when I say everything, you don't have to kind of go to the extreme of giving up certain things. Basically, what this means is you have to be willing to make a significant sacrifice, right? There is no success without sacrifice. There's going to be something that you have to give up, whether it's time, whether it's a social life, whether it's hanging out with friends, staying up all night, whether it's your eating habits, whether it's, just the things that consume, your time and what you do throughout the day. A lot of those things you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. And sometimes those sacrifices may last a year, may last 2 years, they may last 3, they may last even 4 or 5, right? But if you're committed to this process and you feel like what you're striving for is worth the commitment and worth you putting in day-to-day effort to reach that goal, you have to be comfortable with giving up whatever it is that has to go. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't circle back around and some of the things that you didn't have an opportunity to do early on in your process and in your journey to do, that you do it later, right? But you have to take that time to separate yourself from the things that can be a distraction, the things that can hinder you, the things that can become these obstacles or these barriers that don't allow you to get to the destination that you're striving for, right? And so you're going to have to commit to something that's worth giving up for, or giving up everything for. And one thing that it also does as well too with that commitment, it keeps you driven. It keeps you continuously waking up day by day and repeating the same routine, repeating those same habits every day until you get to the results that you're looking for. And there's going to be challenges, obviously, right? There's going to be things that are going to happen that's going to try to detour you. There's going to be things that happen that may bring a fork in the road, and you're trying to figure out, what option or what direction that you should go. But we always talk about this as well too, but being able to be being able to adjust, being able to pivot, being able to move in a different direction and be agile if in the event something gets to happen, right? But if it's worth it, and if you want it bad enough, you're going to steer through it, right? You're still going to stay committed to the process. And even though things may happen, you know what the end goal is, and you're going to strive to progress towards that every day, right? So commit to something worth giving up everything for. The second one is speak positivity over your life as well as others. And I think this is big because people can get to a point where they become selfish, right? You want these desires and you want these things so much, but I feel that even in your process, as you grow and as you progress towards these different things and you learn so much, still take the time to sow into other people's lives as well too. like never be too busy and too distracted where you can't give an encouraging word to someone else. Even when you're at your lowest point, I feel like when you have an opportunity to speak positivity in someone else's life, or sow a seed in someone else's life, or be there for someone in their time of need, even when you're struggling or even when you're going through a difficult time, I feel like that's just ammunition to kind of build you up. That's just a moment to where, you know, you can share your experiences and what you're going through. And you never know, like you and that individual can get through something together, right? Or they may share something with you that you didn't know that they had been through or that they've experienced. And it may be something that strikes a fire in you to continue to move forward, right? And so I think positivity breeds positivity. The more that you give out, the more that you get back, right? And that's just the you know, the law of attraction or energy or however you want to put it. But always make certain that you're speaking positivity over your life as well as other people's lives as well too. Never down talk yourself, right? Never speak negative
Because you
about
believe
yourself.
it. Your
Yeah,
subconscious
man,
believe it.
you don't want to do that, right? Like you want to speak good things in your life. You want to sow good seeds into your life with the expectation that those things are going to grow into something that's going to be fruitful and favorable as time progresses, right? You never want to beat yourself down because you made a mistake or you did something wrong, right? And I think a lot of times, especially in this society, and we're so screwed up, you know what I'm saying? A person makes they do something wrong, or they make they do a bad have a bad decision. You know what I'm saying? Or they choose to do the wrong thing, right? They made a mistake and they suffer for it, right? And they go through the whole process of learning from it and growing from it. But a lot of times, you know, there's the outside noise that can really make a person feel like that mistake is just final, right? Like that mistake has to define who they are and what they represent when that person may be far from that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I made a mistake and I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, but I'm changed. I'm a different person now. But it takes you as an individual to be confident in yourself, not allowing other people's limited beliefs or labels to deter you from continuing to grow and becoming the best version of yourself. So despite what somebody else may say, despite what somebody else may think, if you know that your behaviors are modified and you've changed in that regard to be a better person, and you're continuously speaking positivity in your life, it doesn't even matter what anybody else says as it relates
Doesn't
to
matter at
what
all.
you've done or what you've experienced. You define who you are, right? You define what you want to become, and you live by that. Like he was just saying, like your set of beliefs that you have about yourself, those are the ones that matter, right? The set of beliefs that you have about yourself that define who you are, those are the ones that matter. And you have to make certain that you nurture those things in order for them to grow into what's needed to get through life. Because hell, life is hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? Everybody experiences their challenges and their setbacks and their shortcomings. And there's enough things that go on in society that try to get you down, but you don't want to defeat yourself with your own hands. Like that doesn't make sense at all. Hey
Yeah,
man, stop throwing
exactly.
your hat like that, bro. I'm getting jealous that I ain't got one. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to rub it in my face, man. I feel offended.
Hey, you finna have yours in a sec.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, speak positivity over your life. Commit to something worth giving up everything for. Two things that are 2 steps to help you become the best version of yourself. Last
Yeah,
two,
so
bro. You got
the final two, so be selective with the people you put in your circle. Um, Pretty self-explanatory. You don't wanna taint, you know, your circle, right? You don't wanna bring in negative influences, bad energy. You don't want to bring in, you know, haters and
naysayers.
naysayers, right? So be very selective with the people in your circle. You know, make sure you guys are aligned, and make sure they're not just yes man either, though, right? Like make sure
Right.
they're genuine people, who are going to be honest with you, right? Who are going to pat you on the back when you do a good job, and who are going to tell you when you're fucking up. You know what I mean? Like you need that type of honesty.
Got to
Um,
have that balance.
yeah, in that balance, right? So be very selective with the people you put in your circle. And then the last one is make your health and well-being a priority. And this is extremely important. I don't think a lot of people realize how much health, like physical health, plays on like mental health, right? And then how much that affects your mood and how it affects, you know, various other things in your life. You know what I mean? From getting sick to, you know, just numerous other things, right? Like if you're not getting your sleep and you groggy and you're frustrated, so you're not operating, you know, at peak
Peak
efficiency.
efficiency.
You know what I mean? And you know, just various different things, right? And I know like man, there's a stigma with man that don't like going to the doctor. You know what I mean? Like, which I'm not one of them, right? Like I'm the type, if something's wrong, I'd rather know sooner rather than later so I can try to fix it and get it worked out. Because a dead me because I didn't want to go to the doctor ain't benefit nobody. You know
Right.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
So so yeah, make your health and well-being a priority. Extremely important, man. And I would say that the top thing that you can do when it comes to that is making sure you get your sleep. That's like uh very, very important, right? Because everything else falls, you know, follows that. Because like, yeah, okay, cool, you exercise every day. Well, if you're not getting the proper sleep, you're not recovering, right? And then when you finally get to the gym, you tired. Because if you get up in the morning and go and you ain't get enough sleep, you're tired. Or if you had a full day of work and you go after, you ain't get enough sleep, you're tired. So you're not, it's not good for you. And you know, so sleep, get your sleep. That I would say that's numero uno, and make sure you go to the doctor, get those checkups. And all that good stuff. Eat healthy, you know, all that good stuff. Sid, you want to hit us with the final thought, bro?
Let's go. So challenging your limits will require developing new sets of behaviors. Doing the same thing with hopes of getting a different result will keep you in a continuous cycle of failures and frustration. And rest does equal restoration. You got to have that rest. So choose today to follow a new path and give yourself a chance to get past your limits, right? It's December. Well, December is tomorrow, right? December 1st is tomorrow. We're ending off November. It's about to be the last month of the year. And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this particular topic of challenging your limitations, right? You've gone through 11 months and you may not have achieved some of the things that you wanted to achieve. You may have,
Or maybe you did, but
or
then there's
maybe you
still
did.
room for
Right,
improvement.
right. And there's room for improvement. There's room for more growth. There's room for other opportunities that you can take advantage of. But as you go into this final month of the year, really working to build up your momentum to go into 2023 is going to be essential, right? It's going to really put you in a position to capitalize on everything that you've learned from the 11 months. And then this last month, like you can really just take it up a notch. You know what I'm saying? Really challenge yourself to do more, give more effort, be more focused, have more discipline. You know what I'm saying? Be more strategic, be a better planner, be a, you know, whatever it is that you may have struggled with early in the year, or whatever it is that you want to take into the new year, right? There's so many different things that you potentially can do better if you do a self-evaluation and you really be honest with where you are and the progress that you've made or the progress that you didn't make. And man, it just really just take this next month to just go hard, right? Like challenge yourself, all your limitations, everything that you felt that you couldn't do, man, just say effort and go for it, right?
Hey,
See what happens.
start now. You know, don't wait to the first of the year. Like sometimes some of my, you know, goals and things align with, you know, the beginning of the year, but like I'm trying to knock out stuff all year. You know what I mean? So don't wait until the new year to start whatever it is you're trying to start. Start it right now, right? You got 4 weeks, right, of December to already have a habit formed when you go into the new year, right? So if you got fitness goals, start now. Beat the rush. Because come January, everybody and their mama finna be in the gym all over again, and I ain't gonna be able to get to my equipment because everybody doing their fitness goals. But start now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And whatever it is you're trying to do.
absolutely, bro.
But hey man, as always, we greatly appreciate everybody who tuned in to the live. We greatly appreciate everybody who goes back and watches the episodes. As we mentioned, we got a lot of good stuff coming The merch, starting with the hats, will be on the website very shortly. The website is going through like a revamp. And like I said, if I had to put a time on it, I'll say like 2 weeks, probably like 2 weeks time. We can have 2 weeks time. The website should be done, or at a point where y'all can go grab the kits, grab y'all a hat, support the movement. But greatly appreciate y'all. We still having an issue with the kits when you go to the kits, but I'm about to fix that. So just give it about 30 minutes or so, and you should see all the updated kits on the site. You can find that link in our bio, and it'll take you to all of our kits from all of our previous episodes. And as always, you can go to the Instagram page and find all of our previous the lives for all of our previous episodes. And with that said, man, hope all y'all had an amazing holiday with y'all
Oh
family
yeah,
for
man,
Thanksgiving.
that was last week.
And we look forward to seeing y'all next week. And if you don't do nothing else, keep it thorough.
Keep it thorough.
We out of here.
Peace.